commented underneath that video, "We want to see Steph make 12 threes a game. Stop grabbing him, please."
What looked like a casual social media moment ended up creating one of the most interesting off-season conversations in basketball. When Caitlin Clark dropped into the comments of a Steph Curry interview clip and wrote, "We want to see Steph make 12 threes a game. Stop grabbing him, please," fans instantly froze the video and started dissecting it. On the surface, it was lighthearted and supportive, one elite shooter backing up another. But because it came from Caitlin, who spent her entire rookie season fighting through traps, bumps, grabs, and constant off-ball contact, people immediately started connecting dots. Steph was dealing with the same defensive tactics in that clip, and Caitlin was essentially saying what many fans had been saying for months: let the best shooters actually play basketball. The line was funny, diplomatic, and relatable, but more importantly, it opened a door into a much bigger conversation that had already been brewing behind the scenes.
He has seen it. But Caitlin Clark commented underneath that video, "We want to see Steph make 12 threes a game. Stop grabbing him, please." And she never really, she would say when something was a foul or to, a complaint to that ilk. But Caitlin hasn't come out and said, what they're doing isn't basketball that often.
The comment hit even harder because of the interview Steph had just given. After being face-guarded all night, he admitted there's a part of him that hates it because it's not real basketball, but also finds it flattering because it means defenses are terrified of leaving him open. That phrase, "not real basketball," did a lot of heavy lifting. He wasn't insulting anyone, he wasn't calling out officials, and he wasn't demanding rule changes, but he was clearly pointing out that holding and grabbing a shooter 35 feet from the basket isn't strategy, it's survival. When a player reaches that level of gravity, defenses stop trying to contain and start trying to deny. And that's exactly where the comparison to Caitlin quietly begins.
In a regular season game too?
There's a part of you that fights it just because it's not real basketball. But there's also a part of it that's flattering. Just knowing that you demand that much attention and also what it does to create shots for other guys on the floor. So, and I've seen it all, so I know if that's how they want to guard, how I can be effective, not let it take me out of the game, but also kind of use it to our advantage as a team. And then it's also funny at times just how egregious it is. There's one possession, I gotta find it. I actually get the footage. I actually stayed back in the backcourt a long time on purpose just to see how long Sion would stay with me. So that was a fun one.
Yeah, there's a clip of Colin Sexton covering you.
Fans who only watch highlight clips often miss just how physical Steph's off-ball life is. Teams chase him over screens, grab his jersey, bump him off cuts, and trail him around the perimeter like he's carrying the secret to the universe in his shooting hand. It's the ultimate compliment, but also a real problem. When defenders stop competing with skill and start competing with contact, the entertainment factor changes. People buy tickets to watch Steph break geometry with his shooting, not to watch him be shadowed like a politician under security detail. Caitlin's comment didn't just agree with Steph. It highlighted how exhausting that style of defense is for high-skill shooters across both leagues.
Caitlin Clark, and you get the attention that she does, you're going to get outsized defensive attention. In a rookie season, she was blitzed more to start that year than any team. A lot of that is strategy. They know what she can do. They know where she has the ball, all that stuff. But then there's part of it like trying to prove a point against her. And then, of course, when you want to rough up the other team's star, that's what coaches preach. If the refs are going to let you do it, you do it. It's something that became a point of contention across her WNBA career so far, with Stephanie White, who probably deployed that strategy with the Connecticut Sun, saying that too much contact is allowed on the perimeter. And that's a thing across the WNBA, and it became a theme across the WNBA. But, Caitlin is allowed to be grabbed and held and all those things, even to the point where I remember there was a broadcast where Rebecca Lobo pointed out, there's a foul, and there's a foul, and there's a foul, like Oprah giving.
The reason that comment hit so uniquely is because Caitlin's rookie year looked almost identical in terms of how defenses guarded her. From opening night, teams blitzed her at half court, face-guarded her off the ball, doubled her on ball screens, and constantly tried to disrupt timing and rhythm. Coaches openly admitted it was a combination of strategy and message. Limit her space, test her toughness, and see if the officials would let it happen. And most of the time, they did. She didn't complain publicly, she didn't ask for special treatment, and she rarely commented on officiating. But anyone watching knew that the level of perimeter contact she absorbed was higher than normal. This isn't just a Caitlin issue or a Steph issue, it's a league culture issue. In the NBA, excessive grabbing gets called because fans want to see offense. In the WNBA, physicality has been framed as a badge of legitimacy. Coaches and veterans have talked openly about how much contact is allowed on the perimeter and how defenders are encouraged to use that freedom. Stephanie White, who coached against Caitlin in Connecticut and now coaches her in Indiana, even acknowledged that too much contact is allowed on the perimeter league-wide. When multiple respected voices say the same thing, it becomes clear this isn't fan bias, it's systemic. One of the most interesting parts of Caitlin's early career is how measured she's been. She has called out truly unnecessary plays, like the infamous shoulder check, but she hasn't turned officiating into a talking point. That's rare for a star who takes the amount of contact she does. So when she indirectly comments on it by talking about Steph instead of herself, it's strategic. She's making a point without sounding like she's complaining and without escalating league drama. It's the difference between raising awareness and starting a fight, and that distinction matters for players who are building long-term influence. There's a simple truth about sports entertainment. Stars drive consumption. Fans buy tickets to watch Steph shoot from the parking lot and Caitlin launch from the logo. That's what fills arenas, boosts TV ratings, sells shoes, and attracts brands. When defenders limit that with constant grabbing, the product takes a hit. Not because fans hate defense, but because they want to see what makes these stars special. Basketball isn't just competition, it's performance, and performance requires space. Caitlin saying she wants to see Steph make 12 threes wasn't just funny. It captured what millions of fans across both leagues genuinely want. Steph's comment exposed an interesting difference between the two leagues. The NBA has its own officiating complaints, especially around flopping and foul baiting, but they generally protect offensive flow because offense sells. The WNBA, on the other hand, has leaned into physicality as a point of pride. Both philosophies have pros and cons, but only one protects elite shooters. For someone like Caitlin, whose success is heavily tied to space, rhythm, and motion, that distinction has real consequences for how her game is perceived and how the league grows around her. That's why fans perked up when Steph's shooting coach started posting about Caitlin. It wasn't just a coincidence. Those posts appeared right after Steph was spotted wearing her Nike shoes. Nike has invested heavily in both of them because they're undersized guards who changed how people think about shooting range. When brand alignment, public support, and shared commentary start converging, the idea of off-season collaboration doesn't sound far-fetched at all. The biggest speculation is whether Caitlin is working with Steph's shooting coach during the off-season. There's no official confirmation, but the evidence trail is strong enough that fans and analysts are discussing it seriously. And it makes sense. If you're the best shooter in women's basketball and you have access to the development infrastructure of the greatest shooter in NBA history, why wouldn't you at least explore it? The techniques, footwork, and shooting prep that have kept Steph elite deep into his 30s would be a massive asset for any high-volume shooter. Steph didn't just become great, he changed the sport. He made spacing different, made defenses rethink coverage, and made kids pull up from the logo at age 9. Caitlin represents the closest women's basketball equivalent to that kind of archetype. She's an undersized guard who changed how fans view shot selection, tempo, and distance. That parallel alone creates mutual respect. But when you add personal development and shared training environments, the connection becomes more meaningful. What people often overlook with Caitlin is that she's not satisfied with being popular. She wants to win. She wants titles. She wants to build a legacy that lasts beyond viewership spikes and highlight clips. That mindset makes off-season development extremely important. It also explains why she's been so poised during league conversations about physicality, officiating, and the CBA. She understands that how she navigates these early years will influence how she's perceived for the next decade. And that's where the business side enters. The players' current leverage in CBA negotiations exists largely because of what happened during Caitlin's first season. Attendance doubled. Viewership shattered records. Merch sales exploded. Corporate sponsors finally showed up. A league that had been fighting for attention now had a cultural moment. Caitlin didn't negotiate the CBA directly, but her impact changed the negotiating environment. So when she casually invites people to courtside games this year, it signals confidence that a deal is coming, because she understands the season is too valuable to lose. If Caitlin actually gets better next season, especially with improved mechanics or new shot prep, the defensive pressure is only going to increase. And at a certain point, the league will have to decide whether star perimeter players get the freedom to showcase skill, or whether physicality will continue to blur the line between strategy and disruption. Caitlin aligning herself with Steph's comments could be the first step in pushing that conversation into the mainstream without direct confrontation. When you stack everything together, social media, brand alignment, shooting development, shared defensive challenges, and CBA context, the Caitlin-Steph connection looks less like off-season hype and more like a preview. A preview of how the modern version of elite basketball might look across both leagues. More spacing, more shooting, more creativity, and more star-driven entertainment. And if Caitlin really did spend the offseason absorbing even a fraction of Steph's shooting ecosystem, next year's WNBA defenses might have to rethink everything. If you found this breakdown interesting, make sure to drop a comment on how you think Caitlin's potential offseason training will impact next year's WNBA season. And if you're enjoying these deep dives, hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. We'll be covering Caitlin's offseason developments, CBA updates, and the ripple effects on the league as they unfold.